I am not feeling very happy today. My mum came over just over the last 2 days. Um, she came up in the morning, and then my dad later came up. So she came up by train, my dad came up by car, and then in the evening, my dad wanted to go at 7, and my mum wanted to go about 9. So they both ended up coming, even though they've both gone from London to Birmingham. They both came at different times. Yeah. I She was going on about my sister's property. My sister's trying to get a third property, so she's got a house in Birmingham that she doesn't want, never touch, doesn't want to live in because she doesn't like Birmingham. And then she's a 3 bedroomed house, so it's quite a good standard. But she's got a 1 bedroom flat in Hawley, but it's not big enough. She's got 2 kids. One's social services have got, and then there's a third one as well that the father's got and is refusing to there's definitely problems with the father. I think he's got severe mental health conditions. He has now taken my sister to the police station. Well, he's called her into the police station because he said that he's the reason my sister is egging me on and telling me to say lots of nasty things about George on my video cameras, which is ridiculous because I don't talk to my sister. We have a very distant relationship, and I hardly ever talk to her, and I hardly ever see her, and she's autistic, so even if I did see her and talk to her, she wouldn't be saying that much. What George does is aggravates me and annoys me, and that's why I talk about him, and it's got nothing to do with my sister or her saying anything to me. And him doing this and thinking that he's basically abusing her with these restraining orders. So he's been getting restraining orders on her for every single year. And he tells his friends and family that and people that ask why the kid doesn't know who his mother is. He's telling them that, oh, Sophie's so dangerous, so violent that blah 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 blah. He needs to get these restraining orders on her, when really he doesn't need to get these restraining orders on her, and he's only just using these restraining orders as a way of keeping her away from the child. But he's going to try and blame all the problems on her. And he also likes power, and I think having restraining orders on the mother of your child makes him feel more powerful than he actually is. And because he wants to complain about something, he can go to the police and say, Sophie's doing this, when she's not doing this. He said, George does not talk to me, he's not in my life. He blocked my phone the moment my sister and him broke up. And he's a complete arsehole. And if I'm saying nasty things about him, it's got nothing to do with my sister. But the fact that he would go to the police and blame it on my sister because he's got a restraining order on her, and because he has these restraining orders on her, he can now control her and say, oh, she's doing this, she's got a restraining order, she shouldn't be doing this, when she's not doing this. Why the police haven't contacted me to ask me what the situation is. If the police asked me what the situation is, I would tell them the truth, which is that George obviously has a very severe mental illness and wants to try and hurt my sister as much as he can. And because he's put all these ridiculous restraining orders on her, and the police have just allowed this abuse to happen because I don't know why, because he talks and my sister doesn't. So the police are just allowing people to abuse it, anyone in any way they can. And because he wants to try and abuse the situation more, abuse his power more. He's trying to get her to. He's called her to the police, but it's not going to go anywhere, so I don't really care. I think this is what happens when you marry horrible people. They do horrible things, and my sister should have probably been a bit smarter as to see what he was actually really like. I didn't see what he was really like, but then I hardly ever spent any time around him, so I shouldn't be expected to know that he would turn into such a monster. But anyway, as for my life, it's not very good because my mum came round. If my sister gets a second flat, she's going to take out a £200 mortgage, but also because flats are very expensive, she would also need to sell a quarter of the house that she owns in Birmingham. So I'll give her 42,000, and instead of owning a quarter of the house, I'll own half the house. Which is bad. I do have the money, but it means that I only have about like 10,000 more. I haven't worked in a long time, and I'm not planning on working. I can't live with £10,000. But because I'll be owning half the house, I'll be making £5,000 a year, and £5,000 a year is actually enough to cover my bills and my gym and so yeah. It's not going to be a great living, but my mum was going on about how amazing this is. You can get £5,000 a year, and therefore, if you don't want to work, you don't have to work again. So long as you make sure the rent actually gets paid, I don't have to go to work, which is just so annoying because I'm God, I'm Christ. I'm inspiring the whole timeline. I've got billionaires doing things, setting something up. I think, I don't know if they even are setting something up, because I'm seeing that they're doing a lot, and I'm having all the Christians talk about how they're setting something up, but I've not seen it or spoken. No one's spoken to me. No one said one thing in 11 years, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Why are they ignoring me for such a long time? And then to have my mum just go on about how amazing it is, how I'm going to be able to make £5,000 a year from a house. Isn't that so amazing? It's like the most unambitious dream there is, and it's just, it's, yeah. To be a god of this world, I can't do massage because it's insulting, to do massage when I know that I should be getting a lot more. I should be getting work. I'm highly intelligent, and I should be able to get work, and I can't, because I can't get people to respond to me. People seem to be programmed to ignore me, not respond to me. How am I supposed to get a job if everyone's not responding to me? This isn't just a case of, just put out a few more CVs, just try a bit harder. No, this is a case of people are mind-washed, brainwashed, stupid robots, and it's not going to go anywhere, because this is how it's always been in my life. And if you don't understand that, then I guess you just don't know what it's like to be God and to be Christ and have the whole world turn against you. And I don't know how to change it, because I don't want to buy another quarter of my sister's house so I can make £5,000 a year. Isn't that amazing? I don't want that. I want to sell my sister's house so that my sister doesn't have to have a £200,000 mortgage, but rather she can only have a £100,000 mortgage. That would be the smart thing. The smart thing would be for her to sell the house and to buy somewhere nearby, a 2-bedroom. That way she can move into that, and she can rent out the 1-bedroom that she's got. And that's the smart thing, because they're together. She can look after them. You can't manage properties if it's hard to manage properties if they're a long way. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a big house market drop soon, because there's way too many people here. And when the population halves and then halves again, house prices are going to half and then half again, probably. I mean, it probably won't affect England so much, but it will definitely affect the thing is, though, it might actually be slightly okay in England, because I reckon my prophecy is that the house markets will massively drop. But the problem is there'll be a lot of places that are ugly, where the population drops so massively that there's hardly anyone left in the cities, and these people are going to want to immigrate somewhere else. They're going to struggle because they're not going to be able to sell their properties, so their properties are all going to be worthless. But at the same time, they're not going to want to live in an empty city, or a city that's full of ugly buildings that are falling apart and are going to start falling apart more and more over the next 10 years. They're not going to want to live in these places, so they might start cutting back on their losses and just saying, what, we need to all gather up in a better city, and there might be a lot of immigration. There will be a lot of immigration, people moving from poor places to richer places, so anywhere that's richer than other places that are poorer. The poorer places are going to be completely empty, and people are going to start migrating. But and the people that are in these places might start thinking, we don't want to live in this place. We can, now that house prices are dropping in the richer areas, we can afford to move up. So everyone's going to start moving up properties, and the uglier places are going to be left empty, and the richer places are going to drop. But because they're going to drop, more people are going to want to move. And if London house prices drop, I would want to move to London, but I of course I want to move to America, and I want to live in a big mansion given by the state, because of all the work that I've done by inspiring all the films and songs, and I've inspired the whole timeline. I deserve a lot more than £5,000 a year. So to have my mum try and convince me that this is an amazing thing for me, to buy another quarter of my sister's house so that I can make £5,000 a year, it's just really, like, she has absolutely no ability to believe that I'm God, no interest or ability to want to look at the evidence that I have. It's just not the truth, and therefore and me knowing this for 11 years, telling her constantly that this is the truth, and nothing happening. This is only more proof that she is right, and it's not truth. It's not the truth. I have the truth, and about I didn't know that people were going to ignore me for such a long time, and my life is so awful, and then to have my mum just go on about how amazing it will be when I'm making £2,000 more each year. That's not good. My life is not going to be amazing if I'm making £2,000 more. I don't want to buy a quarter of my sister's house. I want to move. I want to sell my sister's house so that I can move to America and not have to worry about getting the rent and maintaining it and stuff like this. There's a lady in there who's, I think she's planning on moving out in December, but she because we could get like £300 more a month. I'm hoping to get her out, but she might just up the price and pay £950 instead of £900. So she might just start paying more in December, in which case that might be I don't know. I wish I knew the future. If people are going to come to me in October, then that's great. We'll just sell the houses. So, Sophie doesn't have to get such a big mortgage, and that's a good, that's a good thing. But yeah, if and I'll sell this house as well. Although I might probably just keep this house because I've got lots of stuff in it. So I might keep this house just for a year as like a storage home, just until I've moved all my clothes out of it and stuff. But yeah, I don't know when. I don't know what should happen, but I'm really not trusting anyone. I'm not happy, and I'm not mentally well enough to trust anyone, because you've been ignoring me for 12 years, and my mental state is just wanting to kill everyone. Like, I really, really hate people. I saw some Muslim cases yesterday, which just angered me. How someone, when they were 16, was talking to someone via phone, and they were pestering this person and saying, can I have a picture of you? And after lots of conversations, she did send a picture just of her face. That's it, just of her face. And then that person didn't go anywhere, and she ended up marrying someone else. And 3 years later, that person got 7 people, took them to the fields, took her into the desert, and they all raped her twice over a period of about 3 hours. So she'd been raped 14 times. She comes back. She doesn't want to tell her family at first, because I think she must feel shame. They might want to hurt her, or reject her like a deer would reject its fawn. Oh, you smell of something else, I don't want you. That sometimes people have this way, and I can imagine her not wanting to tell people, but and then after a couple of months saying, I do want to get prosecute, I am going to report these 7 people. And yeah, these 7 people probably gave her a ton of aggro. The lawyer lost his job for supporting a rape victim. The husband got and the victim got 6 months in jail. I think they were let off or pardoned by the prince. But to think that a rape victim should get 6 months in jail and 200 lashes. I can't imagine them being very harsh, because the other people got 1,000 lashes. If they got 1,000 lashes, then there's got to be, it can't be a lash. There's got to be a difference between a lash and a whip, right? A whip can leave a proper scar, whereas a lash is probably is more about shaming rather than pain. I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, to think that you brutally whip people in the streets is awful, and it's something that only cowboys used to do to people. But yeah, it's just a horrible thing. But I would love this to be a test to the Islamic world, who thinks that punishing rape victims, even though it wasn't their will, even though it wasn't their choice, who thinks that is fair? Because if a huge portion of people think that, if a huge portion of males, of course the women wouldn't think that's fair, but if a huge portion of males think that punishing rape victims for being a victim is fair, then I can't care about the women who suffer from these things. Why? Because the men and the women are the same. Your parents are a certain way, and you will get children, you'll get souls of children who are similar to the parents, and therefore males and females are the same. Their soul is the same. Okay, physically they might be slightly different, but mentally, spiritually, and everything, they are the same. And therefore, if all the males in the country think it's completely fine to put a woman in prison for 6 months for being raped, you know, that shows their mentality. It shows their sickness. It shows their illness. It shows how disgusting these people are. Now, because men and women are the same, I want to punish these disgusting people for having these disgusting ideologies and these disgusting views. And, well, because they like punishing women, you know, fine, okay, punish your female sex. You're all the same. You're going to die. You're going to be a female sex in your next life, and you're going to be punished if the same thing happens. And with enough punishment, eventually, you know, education is the most important thing, but I think the most important type of education is learning that males and females are actually the same. And okay, you might be physically different, you might have different hormones because women are more like me, but other than that, your soul is the same. And therefore the best education you can have is to learn this. And if the only way you're going to learn this is by being beaten up, being locked in your home, being forced to cover, being treated like you're nothing but an animal, you know, if that is what it takes for you to realize that women are not stupid and women are actually the strongest sex for being able to put up with this kind of abuse and crap, you know, if that is what it takes for you to realize that a woman is strong, for you to be a woman and for you to face this abuse, then good, because I think when you die, you have assessment, and they do ask these questions, you know, are women this, and women are not going to say yes to these questions, hence their souls are going to be reincarnated with better parents who also have a similar ideology to their new ideology. Whereas when they're born as males, you know, they just think, I'm better. Oh, I like being better than half the population. And therefore they have false ideologies. And they'll be given to parents who also have false ideologies. And if all these parents that have these false ideologies are all born in a certain area, you know, this is where all the bad souls are going to be born. And I can't blame the leaders, because the leaders are making their people happy. And if beating up women and treating them like shit is what makes their people happy, then I'm glad that there's a lot of unhappy people in this world, because they have obviously they can't see things correctly. So that's put me in a bad mood. But at the same time, I feel so much anger towards the men that, you know, turning the men into women and making them feel the abuse is the best thing for them. So it's you know, I don't want to be in this position where I support abuse, but I do if the abuse is what makes them change, you know, what makes them value women, by being a woman and being abused. So but yeah, I wish I could put a stop to it, but I can't put a stop to it because no one's talking to me, no one's helping me, no one's promoting me. But the more, you know, I was hoping something would happen in October, but I'm not seeing any evidence that that people are going to start talking to me then. So because of this, I don't think the rise is going to happen next year. I've been comparing next year with the year after, so 2005 with 2006, and you know, I wanted, I guess, the wedding to be on September the 5th, and it happens to be Muhammad's birthday next year, but the wedding doesn't need to be on Muhammad's birthday. You know, I like Friday the 13th, and June the 13th, it happens to be a Friday, and that's the day that I want the public, the press, to first start saying that Christ is here. You know, I want there to be a pre-stage where I just talk to Christians online and just talk to them about why I'm Christ, why I'm Eve, not talk about Aliyah, but just give basics, ask them why they worship such a monster, why they think God made the world in 7 days, what happened to the dinosaurs, you know, ask them these questions as to why they're so stupid. Just get a bunch of people insulting me, proving me that they're not on my side. All these videos are not going to go public. I'm going to keep them as my personal thing, so that in a couple of years' time, if these people try and claim that they were on my side, because they're all liars, they're liars, horrible people. They'll say anything just to get people to back them. And if people start backing me in a few years' time, you know, they might want to change their story. And I want something on record to prove that these people were not on my side, and also to show why these people need to go to heaven. You know, that all the things that they'll say against me, all the inability to recognize that I'm Christ, all the inability to recognize how gross they are for believing what they believe. You know, I want to have a bunch of conversations where I expose this. Of course, they wouldn't be seeing it that way. They'll just be seeing it as the Bible says this, the Bible says that. And it's just like, yeah, well, the Bible says there's a talking snake as well. Do you really think that's the truth? The Bible says the world was made in 6 days. The Bible says that Moses was great and Lot was great, when really God just took them into the wilderness to kill, and they just started, well, to start wars and to die, basically. And it's just, everything in the Bible doesn't make sense, and I need to have these conversations. Then I need to rise. But there could even be a possibility of having these conversations and then just rising and then just waiting a year. I need to recover. I want to do things. I need to trust people. And then maybe the sacrifice of the fake sacrifice, just to see how much people hate me. This maybe should be the year after. I mean, there'll probably be far less people wanting to do it in that stage, but I don't trust people, and I don't like people, and the sacrifice, the fake sacrifice that I'm planning is going to prevent me from having a good life for another year, and I don't know why I would even want to do that when I've had such a horrible life. And the possibility of making £5,000 a year is like my mum telling me that I'm having a good life. No, that's not a good life. And I don't know how long it's going to be. If you are planning on ignoring me for another 2 years, another 3 years, maybe you're waiting till I'm 40. There is something about Israel being in the desert for 40 years, so maybe the plan is, and I'm 37 now, so maybe I can't bear to think about this possibility because it just sounds so awful. But maybe you are planning on ignoring me for another 3 years. Or maybe you should come to me, help me, give me a better life, and maybe I should just ignore everyone and just not rise for another 3 or 4 years. Maybe that should be the plan. Because, because I hate the world, and I don't want to offer the world anything, because the world offered me nothing and gave me nothing. And I don't know what the plan should be, because no one's talking to me. How can I make a plan when no one's talking to me?